Welcome, everybody, to District Talk. I'm your host, Chad McLaughlin with District Home Loans. And this week, we have our own Edwin Gray with District Home Loans. Edwin, thanks for stopping by.
How's it going, bro?
It's going well.
It's cool seeing you,
it's
man.
Going well. You're a fellow loan officer here. And you're actually one of my first loan officer to be on our little podcast here that we've got going. So
that's because I'm so special, bro.
You are special. I know. I had to share the limelight a little bit.
No, thanks for the invite, really.
Yeah. But I thought today, what we would do is just a couple things. We of course get to know you a little bit, and your history as a loan officer, where you came from, and how you became a loan officer, and then we'll also get into the market, the state of the market. But then what I'd like to talk about, our topic for the day, which is common first-time homebuyer questions that we get asked a lot.
That is excellent.
Yeah. Okay. So that being said, let's just kind of jump into you and tell me about yourself. Tell me about what got you into the world of mortgages.
Well, first of all, thank you again.
Yeah.
Do appreciate the invite.
Of course.
Oh my goodness, it was really interesting. So my background in general is human resources.
Okay.
So that was my realm. Did that about 7-8 years. And it was a very good experience. And all of a sudden, I found myself needing to refinance my house.
Okay.
And met this gentleman. He did my refi. And 2 months later, he called me to say, do you want to get in the mortgage business? And I'm like, really?
Wow.
Crazy story. So I said, well, what do I have to lose?
He was like, yeah, I see what you're making as a human resources person.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. Let's make it more, you need to make more money.
Right.
So I ended up going to interview.
Okay.
And he offered me the job, and I thought I was going to get rich doing home loans. And
yeah, we all do at some
right?
point. Yeah.
and it is a process, right?
Right.
There's a lot of good money to be made.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the business itself is you gotta just be very, very consistent, very persistent, as you know. That's a very experienced LO. But here we are sitting here talking here in Rockville 26 years later.
26 years.
Yes, sir.
You've been in mortgages for 26 years?
I did have black hair. I have the photos to prove it.
Wow, I did not know that. I did not know that you've been doing it for that long.
Yes.
So you know all this stuff like the back of your hand.
Well, sort of, kind of. I don't wanna brag, but yeah, we know a lot.
You do, yeah. No, you know a lot though.
Thank you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, and it is. You're right. You have to stay consistent. You have to stay relevant. You have to be adaptable. I mean, because there's always changes happening in our market.
Tremendously.
Yeah.
We have to adapt. And as you said, our mindset is just so very important because our communities, they do rely on us as their main resources related to home mortgages. And so our role as educating them properly, most of them, I would say, do appreciate that.
Yeah. 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 What do you think is your... what is it about the business that you're in? What is it that you like the most?
I love the question because this past Monday afternoon I had a closing.
Okay.
And it was first-time home buyers.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's pretty sweet that even after 26 years, it still does move me, literally, in a good way.
Yeah.
In a happy way.
Yeah.
To see this young couple, early 30s, with 2 very young kids, to achieve home ownership for the first time. So that still goes a long way.
Yeah.
So I'm extremely passionate about it. Yes, of course, I still help repeat, right?
Right. Your repeat buyers,
repeat
your
buyers,
move-up buyers,
we
your
help
downsizers,
whatever.
investors.
We're an equal housing lender, obviously.
Sure. You're going to work with whoever you get.
So very special
Yeah.
just to see the little smiles and they get the house keys. And I'm like, wow, this is why I do the business.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. That's one thing for me too. It's just like you just take a lot of pride in the fact that you are helping somebody get into a home.
Yes.
That they're going to live in and make memories in. And, and their Christmases, their kids are gonna, wake up to, if they have kids, they're gonna wake up to, Christmas morning in that
Totally.
home, and just a lot of just it's just something that's really cool about our job that is really something that we can take a lot of pride in, I think.
Completely agree.
And like you said, the first time home buyer is like, because they're so overwhelmed when you first meet them,
yes,
and they have a lot of questions, which we're going to get to.
right. Yeah,
So they have a lot of questions.
they do.
They do, yeah. Which is great, because when they have questions, that's when you know that they're vested.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
It's true that you're so very excited, nervous, fearful, perhaps a little bit, and that's where you and I come in as that great resource that's here to support them, and in gentleness and respect and patience, just empower them,
Yeah.
because they have to be empowered.
Yeah, because they're so. A lot of folks are scared. They're scared right now, the market that we're in right now. I mean,
Right.
don't you think? I mean, like, from who I've worked with recently, there's a lot of questions about the market. The state of the market right now, especially for a first-time home buyer, is pretty concerning. Would you say that? Would you agree?
To a certain degree, I do agree. Certainly, we don't want to get into politics, and we're not going to today. But
No.
that there's a degree of fear in the
Right, fear.
marketplace.
That's exactly right. So for a first-time home buyer that is already overwhelmed with the process, and then on top of that, then they have the interest rates, which are which change daily.
They do.
In this market.
Sometimes multiple times.
Yeah, sometimes multiple times, exactly. But with interest rates, with the state of the tariffs that that are out there, we don't know which countries are getting tariffs, which countries are not getting tariffs at this point. But that's driving the interest rate conversation.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have the Fed, who just met, and they are holding rates steady.
Correct.
Yeah. So but at the same time, it's still a great opportunity for first-time home buyers.
I think that, and I appreciate that. I think a lot of this have to do with us professionals providing that level of education to them. We have to come in with that great attitude that brings much peace that they're not really experiencing, because again, they're afraid in some cases. And also that coupled with us just educating them as to, do you really understand what your benefits are as you become a homeowner? Do you know what that looks like? And certainly 99% of the time, the answer to that question is no, they don't know.
Right.
That's where you and I come in. So when we talk about building equity, when we talk about certain tax deductions that they will be eligible to under the current rules, those types of things.
Yeah.
Once they come to learn that, they're like, oh, that
Yeah.
sounds kind of cool.
Yeah. And it just makes sense, right? At that point. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And as far as first-time home buyers go, they have a lot of opportunity with programs that are out there to help them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because sometimes, and we know this myth, Chad, we know the myth of you need 20% down payment, and that's been put out,
we've talked about that before on this particular. Yeah.
Okay,
we've talked about that multiple times.
There you go.
Yeah, but it is. It's still out there because a lot of their family members think, which totally understand. You're going to go to a family member. You're a first-time home buyer. You're going to go to a family member for guidance, right? Or
Their opinion.
You're going to talk to the first person you typically talk to is like a family member or a good friend that's already gone through the process.
Correct.
Right? So, but a lot of those folks are still just under, and it's amazingly still under the misconception that you need 20% to put down on a house.
Right. So when they come to us, we're like, how does a 3% down payment sound to you, Mr. Customer?
Yeah.
And they're like, For real? 3%?
Yeah, yeah,
It's cool.
yeah. And on top of that, we can give them some more help.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah. So okay, so but as far as the market goes, we're in a rate environment where yes, rates literally change day to day. I mean, literally from the morning to the afternoon. But they're still kind of just remaining in that high six
Yeah, mid
range.
to high sixes. Yeah.
Yeah, so for conventional.
Yeah.
Now, if we're getting to FHA and your government loans, it's a bit lower.
Correct.
Quite a bit lower.
Yes.
But as far as like your standard conventional rates, we're in the mid to high sixes,
Right.
and we seem to we're kind of stuck there.
Right. So one of my main things that I do say to my clients is this. Yes, Mr. Klein, I do hear your question. I am acknowledging your question. However, instead of saying what's the rate today, why don't we focus on number one, what are your main goals for this purchase? That's number one. And number two, is it okay for us to focus on the actual payment? Because that really goes a long way. It goes longer than me telling you this is to this rate, but we haven't even identified, with all due respect, we haven't reviewed your documents and everything else.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. A lot of well, that kind of leads us to our topic for the day:
Okay.
common first time home buyer questions.
yes,
And one of the biggest common questions that we get is, I literally just got an email. What's today's rate? I literally just got an email from one of my clients. What's today's rate? It's like, okay, all right, here we go.
exactly. Don't we hear that question like 10 times a day?
We do. So how do you answer that question let's talk as if we're talking to a first time home buyer. So how do you answer that question to a first time home buyer?
So what happens here, Chad, is that, it's like everyone is online on a daily basis, especially, all of the millennials, Z generation. That's where they grab information.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm totally cool with that. Nothing wrong with that. However, what I do come up with as we interact is this. Okay, so I can appreciate the fact that you went online and you probably saw multiple rate quotes.
Yeah.
And I do ask them, I'm like, can I ask you a quick question? Did you happen to read the entire document? Meaning, did you read all of the fine print? The answer is, what is that? What is the fine print? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I just go ahead and explain to them this is what the fine print looks like. And so in most of those cases, when they go online, those quotes are with a 740 credit score or higher, 20 to 25% down payment for owner occupied. And so if they're coming with a 3 to 5% down payment, respectfully, that quote does not apply to them.
Right.
So I take it very gently to explain that.
And even to that point, not just the down payment, not just the credit score, but also, are there points involved? Because a lot of times, I mean, especially when you go on these websites that are, throwing out these teaser rates,
Right.
like 5.99 or, something that sounds just amazing.
Right.
Then you have to say, well, hold up a sec. How much is this rate going to cost me? And that's where points. So we have to explain what points are to a first-time home buyer, right? Because it's not like they're just getting into this house without paying any kind of fees,
Right.
or things of that nature. So, so there's a lot to know about the rate, about what comes with that rate, and the intricacies of where that rate, how that rate is priced out to.
Absolutely. So my offer to them is this: hey, I do appreciate the call. I do appreciate your questions. However, if you are feeling that we do have that business chemistry, I call it, that you want to use me, why don't we take it to the next step? And that would entail this and this and this, meaning give us all of your documents so we can do a complete review. And yes, we're gonna do a credit pull, so that's the only way for us to know what your middle credit score is, kind of thing. And not everyone's gonna say yes. Obviously, and that's okay. I'm totally okay with it. But I do understand the fact that time has value. Time has value for them, but it also has value for us.
Sure.
Right? So that respect that's just coming into play, and they get it, they appreciate it. Again, so probably 7 out of 10 people do say yes, they want to engage into actually getting a complete pre-approval.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about another common first-time home buyer question, which is we get a lot. I get a lot. I know you do too. But what's the credit score that we require? What credit score do you require to get a loan?
Right. That's one of the most common ones as well. After what's your rate today, right?
Yeah.
So.
So for us, we go down to 580 unless you're putting a down payment of 10% or more down, which we could go down to 550, right? So
would that be FHA?
FHA, yeah.
Okay.
So FHA, yeah. So we have opportunities to go down to 550 with 10% down, or 580 with your typical 3.5% down. But how do you typically answer that question when a first-time home buyer asks you?
Yeah, so I do, I do literally say something similar to that, and that is that if they had a tri-merge credit report pulled recently, which is a complete residential credit report, if they do have one that they just pulled last week, sometimes that happens, do you have access to that copy? And then that means that I'm not going to need to re-pull per se, right? If they have something that's recent. And sometimes they do and sometimes they do not, right?
Okay.
If they do, awesome. They send it to me and I identify, hey, this is your middle credit score kind of thing. If they don't have one, then I just explain to them, hey, we are going to pull this. Tri-merge is good for up to 90 to 120 days, right? And we will identify what your middle credit score is, and we take it from there. If you are at 640 or higher, that's awesome. If you are 680, fantastic.
Even better, yeah.
So, every case is different. That's my point.
Sure. Okay. And as far as the particular loan options and programs that we offer, that's going to be determinant as to what type of credit score you need.
Yes, it is.
So if you're looking at conventional, if you're looking at a first-time home buyer program, if you're looking at FHA, they all require different types of credit scores.
Absolutely. And one real quick here, a quick comparison between, let's say that we have an FHA versus a conventional, and the score itself is 640, middle credit score. In most cases, that particular client will be better off with FHA.
Sure.
Now, why? Why is that? Well, rate-wise, you just said it a few minutes ago, the rate's going to be about a quarter less with FHA, generally, most days. And the PMI, or mortgage insurance, is also going to be a little bit less.
Exactly. So that's where a conventional loan really can crush you, is the PMI aspect of it. So if you have credit of less than 720,
correct,
with a conventional loan, you're really going to be paying a lot of money in private mortgage insurance.
Exactly.
So that's where if you have a lender that says, well, let's look at FHA, because FHA is a standard. It doesn't matter what credit score you have. You're going to have the same PMI that you would have whether you have a 640, a 580, or a 720, right? So that's where the benefit of an FHA program comes into play. So,
and the last thing that I would say on that, if I may, is this. Under conventional, let's remember, we both know this, the loan level price adjustments that come with conventional. That's relevant.
Yeah. And working with a mortgage broker like us, we have options that we have lenders that have the loan level pricing adjustments for FHA where they don't change. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, so your FHA, your government loans, essentially, like your FHA, your VAs, and things of that nature.
Exactly.
So yeah, so I think we're. I mean, this is probably going to go way over
Well, that's why
a first-time home buyer's head. But that being said, I mean, there's just benefits, and you kind of have to trust the process, trust your loan officer. Hopefully you have a loan officer that you can trust and that you have developed a relationship with, and they can put in front of you a couple different options as far as what makes the most sense for them.
Right. So what I will add to that is this. Obviously, we are seeking here to just empower people. We are giving them free information
Yeah.
about what the products and everything, what the process looks like, and so forth. And I would just encourage our audience to do this. If you do not have a lender in place right now as we speak, I would say call Chad. Right, so Chad's gonna leave
Or
his
Edwin.
number, or Edwin. We are a team here at District Home Loans, and we'd be delighted to get you a 15, 20-minute consult that is free.
Sure. Absolutely. We have one other question that we get asked a lot.
Okay.
And it's, do I need money to buy my first home?
That's a good one.
Yeah. So how do you answer that question?
Right. So this is how I answer it, and I really Chad, especially when I'm talking to a very first time home buyer. Again, gentleness and kindness and patience goes a long way. Mm-hmm. It goes a long way. So I do explain to them in that fashion that, because they say, well, my uncle bought and he says such and such. Well, when did he buy? 10 years ago. Oh, okay.
Right.
No problem. 10 years ago. All right. So let's bring you back to 2025.
Right.
Respectfully.
Right. Yes.
And so the answer to that question is this, that at the very least, you are going to have money for appraisal. That's real money, right?
Right.
That they're going to need to have for the appraisal, home appraisal that can range anywhere from 500 to 700 on a conforming loan.
Sure.
That's reality. That's
Sure.
number one. Number two is this: if they're going to do a home inspection, that will also require money up front. And what does a home inspection run? Anywhere $450 to $650. So you do the math on that, right?
Yeah.
And here's another one that is crucial: what's called earnest money deposit.
Right. You're right. Yeah, because you're going to have to put something down to show good faith to the seller. So the earnest money deposit is also something to consider. So you're right. So there are going to be some factors that you have to consider as far as money that you need to purchase a home. Now, that being said, when we say, oh, well, we offer 100% financing, does that mean 100% financing? Does that mean that they're walking into a house with no money down?
It is really, in most cases, advertisements, they can do and say anything they want.
Sure.
However, when the person does apply and he or she gets into contract and in process, I don't want to sound negative, but oftentimes there are nasty surprises.
Okay. Yeah.
That come up. Oh, by the way, we neglected to tell you about such and such number.
Yeah.
And then the client's like a little bit shocked.
Right.
So I would submit that in the very, very vast majority of cases, they do need some money.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I agree. I like you said, and you brought up a great points. You need an earnest money deposit. You need some money for the appraisal, and you're going to need money for a home inspection right off the bat.
Yes.
Right off the bat. You
Absolutely.
know. And then if you're looking at, even if you're looking at a first-time home buyer program that's offered that, let's say, is 100% financing, you're still going to need some closing costs to cover. You're going to need some money for closing costs.
Yes.
Unless you're able to negotiate with the seller. But even at that time, it depends on the program, and it depends on, just how much the seller is able to provide you with your closing costs, as far as like just how much they're allowed to provide.
That is 100% correct. So we both know that in a regular conforming conventional, if the person has put down 3 to 5%, then the max salary concession is 3% for primary residence, meaning you're going to live there. And well, for FHA, basically they on paper up to 6%, but let's be real about it. When was the last time that you saw a 6% salary concession?
Yeah, no, I haven't. No.
For me,
I have somebody right now with 4%.
That's excellent.
Yeah,
and they should be very happy. I hope
they're very happy, and I was shocked.
4% is
to say the
great.
least. Yeah, I was like, what?
What is the shifting in the market itself?
Yes, yeah, the market is shifting for sure. So, all right, well, I think that covers our top 3 first-time homebuyer questions that
great.
that we came up with, at least. So, do you have anything else to add?
I would just truly want to encourage our community to look at the cup half full.
Okay.
Yes, I know there's a lot of distractions in the news on a daily basis. And I get it. There is a certain degree of uncertainty, but I don't want you to be discouraged. I don't want them to be thinking, oh my goodness, it is utterly impossible for me to buy a home, because that actually is not true. In some of the cases, you are able to purchase something. Have a look at, okay, if you're a renter right now, have you received the letter from the rental office that says, Chad, here's the letter that spells out your rent increase? And at that point, you will have a decision to make. And so what do you have to lose to hit us up? Just hit us here on the DM.
Yeah.
Do a comment, I'm ready, or I want a free consult, however you want to word it, or call us or text us. And by the way, what is your best number, bro?
Yeah, my best number?
Yeah.
My best number is my cell phone number. Anybody can call it.
Give it to them.
301-991-4697.
There you go.
You. How
and
about
I'm at
you?
301-980-3494. That's a phone call and or a text.
Yeah.
We get back to you in 24 hours or less in most cases.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Edwin, it was awesome having you on today. Really appreciate it. We appreciate you coming by, and we're going to have to do this again.
It's a real delight. Really, I mean it sincerely. To be here with you. I have great respect for you. I love your attitude as it relates to how you serve your community. You're also a family man, which I obviously relate to. So thank you so much for inviting me.
No, seriously. Well, thank you. I mean, I really do appreciate it and respect everything that you do, and just I know that you're just a good, genuine. Whoever ends up with Edwin is going to be very well taken care of. So that's why I wanted you to be my first loan officer that I had on my little show here. So
thank you, sir.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
All right. Well, again, thanks again for listening to our show today. We really appreciate you taking out the time to listen. Edwin, thanks again for stopping by.
You are welcome, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see you in the next show.